Welcome back to Rome Boys. Today we are with Jim Yankovich. I said it right.
Right.
I got it right, yeah. So he's going to talk to us a little bit today about his, your passion, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of a mission.
Lifelong mission.
Unborn Innocence.
Unborn Innocence. That's right. That's what we called it.
How'd you come up with the name?
Yeah.
It's I got this artwork done, and the first one finished, and I brought it home, showed it to my wife, and she says, "Man, that really turned out nice. You know, have you thought about a name for it?" Because we were patenting the artwork, and I said, "I haven't." I said, "There's all this. I don't know." I said, "There's a lot of emotions going in my mind right now." Mm-hmm. Yeah, she said, "It's too bad." She said, all these innocent babies that are, just not allowed to be born.
Yeah.
And I thought about that a second. I said, "Hey," I said, "honey, I think you just gave it the name." She said, "What's that?" I said, "Unborn Innocence." Not with a T, but innocence. As
Right.
Innocence is the day is long. Innocence is dew on the grass, It clicked. That's just what we called it. That's how we went. So Unborn Innocence was its name. That's how it's been ever since.
Well, I'm going to back up a little bit. Have you always been in art?
No.
What's the medium? What's the art?
I'm a cowboy. And after that, I'm a carpenter.
Couldn't tell.
Cowboy, then a carpenter. Okay.
Yeah. After that, I was a carpenter and done a lot of things in my life, but construction-related stuff a lot. I never really enjoyed being a contractor because, you just got to slam things together and all to keep on. I'm more of a craftsman. So I do handcrafted cabinetry. That's the main thing I do. And do it the old way. I don't use plywood or melamine or parkwood. Everything's handcrafted and dovetailed and mortise and tenon, like you used to do 100 years ago. That's just how I do it.
Just whittled it. Yeah. No.
So then all of this this talent that you've been given, and you turned it around from cabinets to what?
I still do cabinets. The Lord's blessed me in so many ways. I can't even begin to think. Matter of fact, when I say my prayers at night, first thing I thank Him for is all the things that I don't know that He did, because that's without a doubt how I get along through the day. This artwork came about as a result of, I try to be a daily adorations attendant at Blessed Sacrament. That doesn't always work, but I am a daily mass goer, and most of the times I can stay after mass for a few minutes, and then there's days that there's special days, and maybe I'm driving by to go to lumberyard or something, and I'll think about, heck, St. Joseph's just over yonder. I'll go over and sit before the Blessed Sacrament for a while.
Pop your head in for just say hi. Yeah.
That's what happened. We didn't have an adoration chapel at the time, and I stopped in this one particular day, and have you ever been nervous where your feet twitch all the time? You just can't sit still. Have you ever had that? That's how that day was for me.
Yeah.
And the Blessed Sacrament wasn't in a tabernacle behind the altar. It was actually at the side of the altar, as where it was in our church for quite a while. And there were some chairs set up there. And I sat down at that, and I just was twitching and fidgeting. This isn't going to work. I need to come back later and get my head screwed on straight. There must be something. I don't recall now, but obviously there's something I thought I needed to do. So I went on, and I got to the door, and I realized I'd laid my Bible down and didn't have it. So I walked back up to the chair and reached down to get my Bible, and a prayer card fell out. And in bending over to get it, I seen it was a Priest for Life prayer card that I was using for a bookmark. And I sat down in that seat, and I looked at that card, and I looked at the tabernacle, and I said, "Dear Lord, what do we do about this thing we call abortion? Mm-hmm. I mean, what can we do? What can we do to stop it, really? I mean, I buy my ticket to the Mesa County Right to Life pro-life banquet every year. I contribute some money to their cause. I help out. I don't really help out at the pregnancy center, but I do. If they're called on, they need a shelf fixed or this, that, or the other, I go down and do it, Mm-hmm. But for all practical purposes, I really don't do a whole lot. I don't know that any of us really do, unless you're employed there or something. And that's when it happened. Have you ever been out first thing in the morning and watched fog come in on a lake where you just all of a sudden can't see it? I mean, now you see it, now you don't. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what the tabernacle was. There was just this thick fog in front of it. And I just kept looking at it, and I honestly don't know how long this lasted. But pretty soon I could see through the fog, and I could see Jesus on this cross. But he only had one arm nailed up. His left arm was extended out. Take that back with his right hand. I'm looking at it, thinking in my mind, looking at it reverse. And he was wailing and crying and in agonizing pain. But something told me it wasn't from being nailed on the cross. He was looking at something in his hand. And the fog, it's like in a movie theater. I mean, the fog would go away and like the camera zooms in kind of thing. Next thing you know, I'm able to look in his hand. And he's looking at 3 aborted babies. And that's what he's crying about. And that's what he's in agony about. And then I looked down, and that wasn't a box at the foot of the cross. It was a dumpster. And that dumpster was full of aborted babies. And he had reached down off that cross, scooped up those 3. And he was talking to him, and like that scripture reading out of Jeremiah in the Old Testament. He said, before you were formed in your mother's womb, I was calling you by name. But then he looked at me, eye to eye. And he said, whatever you do to the least of these, that's you're doing to me. And then it went away. And the next thing I heard on my heart, I swear I heard words, but maybe I didn't. Maybe it was just a feeling in my heart. But it says, Jim, I need a memorial. You know what it needs to look like. Make them, put them everywhere. It'll do much good. And that was almost 16 years ago.
Wow.
And I've been trying to do that as like a dumb cowboy. I don't know how to go about doing that. I don't have a pocket full of money, just run out and buy things, And some of it's been a little not frustrating, but a little bit depressing because I know I'm not doing as much as I possibly could, but I was doing all I could,
Sure.
Wow. I got together with, I don't know how to carve, I don't know how to sculpt. All I knew how to work wood. I tried making a couple of corpuses of Jesus hanging on the cross, and they were abstract.
That's not an easy task.
Yeah, they were abstract. And I knew what they were trying to say, but nobody else could actually get the impact of what that was. And at the Knights of Columbus State Convention that year, I was an officer and I was in attendance. There was the state chaplain was Father Rob Guido at the time, and I was talking to him about it. He said, I need to put you in touch with somebody. He said, there's a lady in my parish that is a religious sculptor, religious artist. He said, I bet you she can help you out. And her name's Mary Catherine Unrein, and he put us together. And she called me, and I gave her what I saw over the phone. And she said, boy, that's wonderful. She said, let me try to make something, I'll call you back. I said, okay. So 5 days, maybe 6. She calls back and said, I've got something for you to look at. I said, but we're 550 or 60 miles apart. Can we meet halfway somewhere? I live on the Utah border at Grand Junction. Colorado-Utah border. She lives just about on the Kansas-Colorado border at Fleming. And so I said, yeah, I need to be in Loveland this next weekend. Can you meet there? I said, sure. Loveland's just north of Denver. So we met. And within a couple of teeny, tiny, almost imperceptible things, she had nailed it. She exactly had recreated what I saw. And what the face of Jesus, the babies in the hand, the way he was looking, everything. She had it nailed. And I said, boy, if you'll put a couple more tears on his cheek and the spear lancet isn't in his side. I said, it's high on the rib cage. That's where I seen it at. Okay. So that's what she did. And a couple of weeks later, we got together again. I said, that is it. How are we going to make these things? How are we going to get them out?
Yeah.
And she works in a lot of mediums, and she does bronze work. She doesn't pour it herself. She gets the forms and everything. It's quite the process to make a bronze. But I knew that was going to be cost prohibitive to start with. And she said she did a lot of work with kind of a polyurethane resin. So I said, let's try that. Is it strong? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I said it's strong. I said it just can't ever be in the sunlight. It'll deteriorate.
Yeah.
So, okay. So that's what we've done. We've done them. And primarily we've done these little tabletop versions. They stand about 3 foot tall. And small dumpsters, small everything. I was in the train of thought that, boy, if we don't get some big ones out, we're just not ever going to be successful. To the point that I've carried that for a long time. I was fortunate to be able to place one for Father Mike Russo at St. Anne's Church in Youngsville, Louisiana this last weekend.
Oh, okay.
before the storm, and and he was very excited about it, and he'd actually had received one a few years ago at another parish he was at, and the lady that's the director of the pregnancy center there was really interested in it, and she's kind of talking about some really nice big monument, and I thought, wow, this might be an outside one that we can put up, an exterior one, full bronze. And that pregnancy center, I should say, is that the world's pretty much Catholic anyway, so that pregnancy center's 99.98% Catholic.
Yes,
they are not going to counsel for anything but adoption or having a baby, whatever. And Brenda said, I think I'd like to have one of those small ones just like you had at church, and I want to put it right there in that waiting room where girls come in to see a counselor. And I was disappointed, but I was almost put off by it, like, wow, really? This facility and this kind of attention and this kind of location, and this just screams for an outside bronze memorial,
Yeah.
And she said, do I order it now? Do I pay for it now? I said, no. I said, I have 5 with me this trip, and I said, I think I've got all those placed, and as soon as I get orders for 5 or 6 more, I said, I'll just deliver it in person. She said, okay. And so we kind of parted company, and that night, as I was saying, some evening prayers and thanking the Lord for doing everything that I didn't know He'd done, it kind of come to me that I'm looking at this wrong. That young girl that walks into that room, into that pregnancy center, she's not there for a visit and a Sunday afternoon sandwich. She's got some life-changing stuff going on in her head. That's why she's there. And if she's going to meet with the counselor, that means she's considering an abortion. She's considering something.
Right.
And if she's within half a room from that artwork, and she walks up and looks at it, that's going to be life-changing for her.
Yeah.
She could drive past something that was 14 foot tall outside, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's nice. Just keep on going
Walk
in the door.
right past it.
Yeah, walk right on past it.
What a powerful image, too.
Yeah, yeah. And I said, okay, Lord, I get it. If somebody wants to put one of them big son of a guns up, great. But I'm going to focus on these little ones now, and that's what I'm going to do.
So,
Well, I'm just going to back up. Just how did you get the funding to start all this?
I haven't gotten any funding. I just do it.
Or just gotten help? Just
As
pay
the-
for it out of pocket?
They cost $1,100 to do them, and that's considering my shop time and Mary Catherine's time putting them together and whatnot.
Sure.
The materials, everything it takes.
Right.
That's what it cost 14 years ago, and that's still what I'm charging.
For the 3-foot ones.
Yeah, for the little tabletop version.
How long does it take to make them?
Oh, one by itself, onesie twosie, probably takes 4 or 5 days, and that same 4 or 5 days, I could probably make close to a dozen.
Really? Wow.
You can kind of start, can't exactly mass produce them, but you can get setups
You can
on
get you a
table
supply.
saws and stuff. Yeah, where you're making the same cut on all 12, and then you go to the next thing, make the same cut on those 12, and so
You have your crosses built. and
get them all done.
Jim,
And,
I want to ask you a few questions. I know that you had this moment in almost like a metanoia moment, in front of the tabernacle, and you had the vision. And the scripture actually talks about what you heard, and I believe it's John. I'll go back and find it so we can quote it in the show notes. But when you hear the voice of God, the scripture actually talks about it being, I perceived the voice of God.
Yeah.
It literally says those words in the translation. So I appreciate the way you said it, and thank you for being bold enough to actually share the story.
Oh,
because I think a lot of us hear God telling us to do things, but we're afraid that people might think we're crazy. And let me tell you, I say this coming from having some experiences of my own. So I appreciate you being bold and sharing your story.
Well, I think most people would appreciate him to just come out and say, "What do you want me to do?" That would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Yeah.
But so I know that you had this moment, but if you don't mind sharing a little bit about who you are and about some of the things that you've gone through that really have inspired you to actually take action with your life.
I'd have to say it have a lot to be to a cowboy, cowboy lifestyle.
It's probably true. You see a lot of stuff. You witness a lot of birth and you witness a lot of death when you're a cowman.
Yeah.
You really do. That's a fact of life. fact of life is we're all born to die. But
Yeah.
I mean, when you're around 1,000 head of cows and that's the business is to make money at it, you're trying to save everyone you can so that you can kill them later. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
To have dominion over the animals. I mean,
It
Genesis
was an
is
awesome
clear.
way to raise my kids, without a doubt. I mean, there's nothing better than the agricultural lifestyle to raise
I agree.
a family.
It's not
because
easy, but it's
they learn the value of life. They learn the value of work. They learn the value of everything. My wife and I were both adopted. I was 10 days old when my parents got me. She was 10 and a half months old when her parents got her. Our daughter is unable to have children, and don't know whether she's going to be able to adopt now or not. I would say not. She's getting, along enough in years that that's probably not going to happen. But amazingly supportive. That girl's had a case of daddy-itis since she was born. I was an EMT at the time, and I asked the doc if I could deliver her. He said, "Yeah." I said, "That'll work." He said, I'll be in the room too. I mean, if there's something wrong, I'll just kind of tap you on the shoulder. You tag out, I'll tag in, and everything was going. I said,
Sure.
Great. And she was our third. Our first daughter died at birth. Our son was fine. He was about a month late, but he was fine. Janelle comes along. She's a month early, and I should say, if you've been in in a birthing room with your wife, and you're past the second or third child. Mom is pretty well ready to get it over with. She knows what it's about, knows it's about to stop. The quicker we push, the sooner it's over. So I can truthfully only say that I caught Janelle. I really didn't deliver her.
Right.
I saved her a lump on the head, but
Had your catcher's mitts and you're ready to go. Yeah.
By the fifth girl, I was asking Melissa to make me a sandwich while she was trying to have a kid. It's just I might get a little beat up for that, but she laughs at it too.
So she's had daddy-itis for 43 years, and it's been reciprocal. I've got daddy-itis right back. I love my son dearly, but without a doubt, my son had a closer relationship with his mother than he had with me, and our relationship was fine.
Sure,
but it's just the nature of things. I think that's just how a lot of families, if you look at them, you'll see the girls tend to.
Some kids are easier to click with than the others.
Yeah, it is.
It's not that it's a bad relationship. It's just different.
Just different. Yeah, that's right. And so later on, we a lot of people manage to join the Army or something to see the world. I started managing ranches and saw a good part of North America and a little bit of South America and we were involved in some purebred cattle and the new technology, the artificial insemination was nothing new, but embryo transfer was, just doing different things. And we had customers around the world. We had customers in Australia, New Zealand, and China, and Japan. And I didn't get to go to those places, but it was.
I'm about to say, so you're not riding horses anymore. You're riding airplanes.
Yeah, no kidding. But cattle business is the cattle business wherever you're at, and so we always had that thing in common. So it's kind of neat. And Crystal went with me. That was my wife. Her name was Crystal. She went with me everywhere we went. And I can honestly say, 52 years of marriage, we never had your friends and my friends. Everybody was our friends. I mean, the guys that I knew in school or the people she went to school with, they weren't just hers or mine. They were our friends after we got together, And so she developed diabetes some years after we were married. And then, of course, one of the things that happens from that is kidney failure. And some of the stuff that happens from that is, if it gets chronic enough, is dialysis. And she developed an osteomyelitis, kind of a bone disease. And I was her caregiver for the last 3 years of her life and trying to run my cabinet shop and trying to do this Unborn Innocence. And I'm sad to say that Unborn Innocence, I really didn't turn a lick on it when I was doing that. I was taking care of her and taking care of what I could, trying to take care of things at church. I belonged to the Knights of Columbus, and I've always managed to stay active in that. Yeah, forever. Been a Knight for 35 years, and I tried to stay on top of that because that's Catholic men doing Catholic men stuff. That's what you need to have. It's important. It's a good brotherhood. It's a good network. And but when she passed away this last May, what they say about it, part of your soul goes in the grave with them. That's absolutely true. But it gave me a chance to start going back to morning mass. for the last 3 years. She'd tell me to go. She said, go to Mass. You can catch up with me afterwards. I said, yeah, honey, I got to try to get this done and that done, and you're first, so I'm going to stay here, and we're going to get everything straightened out. And I said, Lord, understand if I don't get to Mass on Monday through Friday yet. It'll be all right. And once in a while, she'd feel really good, and we'd get up and go together. But for the most part, that was just gone. So I think a week after she passed, within a week she passed, I was back to morning Mass again, and that's been good for me. It's been healing. We have a great faith community there in Grand Junction that I'm proud to be part of, and they've prayed me through a lot of things over the years, and they're still praying me through it now, so that's good.
I know, Jim, I know, Jim, you don't necessarily like to talk about yourself much, and so thank you for sharing your story. But I do know that you've experienced cancer yourself. Is that right?
Yeah, I've got stage 4 cancer now.
Okay.
It's metastasized in the bones. And, the doc gives lots of, I call them the Howard Stern deals, the shock jock approach. Scare the heck out of you. If you don't do this, you're going to do that. And I'm just not scareable. I'm not.
Yeah.
Things like that just roll off me like water off a duck's back. And matter of fact, I kind of challenge him. I looked at the doc, and he was telling me about if I would just do this, it'd be this many more years of my life. And if I just do that, there'd be. And I interrupted him, and I said, I said, with all due respect, doc, I said, you don't have a damn idea how I'm going to live. You have no, I don't either. I said, I don't know.
It's not up to us anyway.
Next step from that, if it's next week, okay. Yeah. If it's next year, okay. If it's 10 years from now, it'll be good too. I said, the only thing that's important to me right now is the Lord has touched my heart again about this unborn innocent. He had no idea what I was talking about.
Sure.
And I said, it's more important than ever that I get these things out. I said, I sure would like to live long enough to teach my daughter how to do this so that she can carry the
torch. Yeah.
And I think she will. I know she will.
We have a gentleman in our parish he's an older gentleman. He's late 80s, who has stage 4 cancer as well. And he recently, reached out to me and said that the doctor told him maybe 6 months, and I told him, I said, well, you need to go rob a bank. He looked at me funny. Why? I said, well, the judge will give you 30. he was entertained by that one, but
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I'll give you 30 years. Yeah, but it's funny how, well, not funny, but it's always interesting that it's always in God's timing. So you had to put the brakes on the artwork because of your wife's condition and all that stuff, but you got to spend quality time with her in her last few months and years, and so now there's this window of opportunity.
It is. That's exactly what it is. It's a window of opportunity. I had I think they call them PET scans, PET scans for cancer.
Yeah.
Had one of those about 2 weeks ago, and of the 9 or 10 hot spots in my back that was supposed to cause all these problems, there's not one of them detected. Not one of them there.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've been taking some sort of a pill, but it's not exactly a chemo pill. I really don't know what it is, but I've had no side effects from it. And the pill has 5 pages of contraindications. I mean, it scared the heck out of you to read that stuff. Just took it, and I've said from the beginning, Lord Jesus has my back. If He wants this done, then He's going to show me how to do it, and He's going to open the doors to get it done. And that's exactly what's happening. And I think being here today with you boys, there's no doubt in my mind, this is part of His master plan. And,
amen. We're glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. We hope we can get this message out.
Yeah.
I asked some of those questions, and you've been gracious enough to share some of that a little bit before we started up the show here, because it's interesting that it often takes a life-changing event, and it's sometimes, there's only 2 motivators in the world, inspiration and desperation, and you were inspired by your vision at the tabernacle, and you were also, I would say, motivated out of desperation to say, if I've only got so much more time left on this earth, I need to buckle down and do what God's called me to do.
Done, yeah.
And you did this in service to your wife.
Yeah.
As you treat them, so also you treat me.
That's true.
Jesus said, just
That's
as
true.
you did your wife. So, what I hope some of our audience hears is that don't let something like this be the thing that just gets you up off your rump to do something for the unborn. I know you have a strong approach about you can't just sit idly by.
That was one of the things that came out of the very first vision, if you will. I don't know what else to call it. It's a multifaceted problem, but the Lord truly spoke to me and said, you don't have to wield the knife of an abortionist to commit an abortion. You just have to look the other way.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, we're all going to answer for that. I mean,
Right.
At some point, we're all going to have to answer that, because are we really doing our best to stop this?
Yeah, Ezekiel 3:18, it's real clear to say that if you don't admonish the sinner, the church teaches, if you don't tell them about their sin, then the blood is not just on their hands, it's also on your own.
Too. That's right.
It's real clear there. So I'm with you on that message. I agree. Yeah. It's difficult.
And you think, well, I'm not doing anything to contribute to that. Well, that pencil you used to vote with, well, we don't use pencils anymore. Right. Yeah. No, we don't use pencils anymore. But every time you vote, you're using a knife instead of a pencil, instead of, depending on who you're voting for. So, I don't want to make this political, because Lord knows we've had too much of that here lately.
We've had too much of that already. But, Father Russo mentioned something in his sermon last week when he's doing these blessing of those memorials. He started off saying, he said, the facts of the matter are, it says, in this country right now, every 28 seconds there's an abortion performed.
My goodness.
And when he got done, his sermon lasted, 10, 15 minutes. He said, and while I've been preaching today, he said, the last few minutes, he said, 320 babies have lost their life. Holy cow.
There is a website, and it's easily searchable on the internet. And the thought of meeting with you, I actually had thought, like, Joe, we need to figure out, from the beginning of the episode, could we put down in the corner the calculator of all of the babies that have been
It's all just going through my mind right now, too. Yeah.
It's staggering when you hear it.
It's a reality check.
Yeah, I forget the name of the website where it's a counter, where it just constantly
it
never stops. It's just all.
That's why we need Tony. He knows it. Right.
Yeah, he has that one. Yeah.
But it also includes all of the wars and the lives that were lost on those wars, and it compares the difference. There's no comparison of the loss of life.
Father's notes were that of all the Americans killed in all the wars combined are smaller than the abortions. The babies lost their abortion in 1 year in this country.
Yeah.
Good grief.
There's so many different things. We could dive into the abortion conversation, and there's so much.
Since Roe versus Wade, and whenever it was instituted, it's been 65 million, I believe. I mean, that's a civilization.
Yeah.
It is.
And then you got states like my home state that are just saying, yeah, that's great, bring it on.
Oh,
yeah.
Say
we need to stay away from politics.
But every life is a miracle, and what you're doing is just, and it's a testament to that, because of, just look at the vision that you had, and Jesus holding those children in his hand. No matter what the cause of the miracle of their birth, their conception.
You're right. Right.
No matter the cause of the miracle of their conception, there's we all have a story, and I think we're all very, very fortunate, very blessed to be alive. And
well, Jim, you even said that you were adopted and your wife was adopted as well. What if your parents would have made the other choice? I mean, it was not like when you were born it didn't exist.
Yeah. I never got a chance to meet my birth mother, and I'm pretty sure she lived about 60 miles from where I grew up. Just because, you set time back 70 years ago, they called you baby boy or baby girl something, and what it was the last name of the mother. So I was baby boy Allison. My wife was baby girl Kaler. And she never met either of her parents, but her dad met her biological father, because he never signed his side of the adoption papers. And my father-in-law agonized about that all his life, that someday somebody's going to come driving up and claim her and take her away. Which, of course, never happened. But and I got to researching around a little bit, and I knew that I came from a hospital in Salida, Colorado. And sure enough, there's 2 families of Allisons in Colorado. And I always wanted to go up to them. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. And I didn't. But I really wished I would have, because I've always, when I was a little kid, I didn't have a birthday party, I had an adoption party. That's how it was open. It was never anything that was secret. You know,
Yeah.
you hear a lot of these kids get all whipped out of shape, you know, because they find out they're adopted. Oh my God, somebody didn't love me and they threw me away.
Yeah.
It was never that way. It was always embraced with me. You know, so I never ever had any of those kind of feelings.
Right.
And the one thought that I had from probably the time I was about 12 or 13 on was, I'd like to meet my mother someday, and I'd like to tell her thank you. I really would.
Yeah.
Amen.
I don't know what her circumstances was, but it couldn't have been easy.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been.
No. Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
my mom was 16. I get it. I met my dad 20 years ago.
Is that right?
So, yes, sir.
Wow.
So, it's an honor when I hear your story and I think about, you know, I didn't get to know my dad when I was younger, and they were young kids, and I don't blame them. I love them both, and we have a great relationship. But you know, we all have a story, so it's very interesting to hear your perspective and your story on it. And it makes me, you know, there's the story of the pile of crosses where you tell Jesus, I want to give up this cross of mine, and you go and you find out that really. After you go picking through those crosses, you'll just take yours back. And because to hear other people's story really does bring about gratitude.
You're right. You're right. Our prayer group we formed long about COVID. You know, when they shut down the churches, and oh God Almighty, we couldn't go to mass, and so I sent an invitation to about 45, 50, 55 people in our parish, close friends with, and my cabinet shop's big. I mean, it's almost 5,000 square feet. And it's got a little sawdust in, but we can vacuum that off real quick. I said, you guys want to come by to the shop? I said, we can get together on Sunday. We can pray the rosary. We can pray the chaplet. We can maybe I've got a TV down here that part of the time works. Maybe we can stream mass or something, or catch EWTN mass or something, you know. And if you want to bring, you know, potluck or something afterwards, we can have some fellowship afterwards. I'm all for that. I said, I'm not scared of this whole thing. You know, let's just stay together and keep going. Yeah. And there were 9 people responded out of that, which that's better than 8. But I don't know why the other 30 didn't, you know, or 40 didn't. But it doesn't matter.
The 9 that were supposed to be there.
Yeah. And we're still together. Well, we're down to 8 now. One moved away, but we still meet together. Only now it's on every Tuesday night. We have a prayer group. And we go through different. My daughter kind of lines us out as to what we're going to do. She's Mother Superior, you know. So we've done consecrations to Mary. We've done consecrations to Joseph. We've done consecrations to the Eucharist. We've done this and that. But one thing that we've done twice, and we just finished the second time a couple of weeks ago, is the discernment of spirits by St. Ignatius. And that was great the first time, but it's deep stuff. And there was no workbooks or anything to go with it, and we all appreciated it, and we all learned something from it, but I know for a fact that I was still kind of wondering about things. And that came up again under another title that I read about, and I said, how about if we do that discernment of spirits again? She said, I was just thinking that too. She said, I found a workbook for that book that we were on before. I said, really? Oh, you talk about night and day difference. I mean, there was a weekly exercise to do that brought specific parts of it home in a way that you read about, but it just you didn't savvy. You know what I mean? It just you needed that little bit of homework to make it happen. Yeah. And we did that the second time, and to a person, everybody agreed, wow. We'd had this the first time. We look where we'd be in our lives. There's
a reason why they call it a guide.
Well, Jim, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned Janelle, and so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
We've been talking about Unborn Innocence, and I know that she's been kind of helping you behind the scenes with that process. And I say kind of loosely. So my question is, if there was something that we haven't talked about yet about Unborn Innocence and about what has happened from all this, is there something that maybe Janelle would like to hear you talk about? If she was here, say, Dad, talk about this.
She'd probably want me to talk about a little more about the last time I feel the Lord touched my heart, and that was in November that he was talking to me about this. And I was before the Blessed Sacrament again, and I was praying for cancer kinds of things, and not for myself. There's a St. Jude Hospital in Denver that specializes in cancer treatment for children.
Right.
Oh, Crystal used to send money to them, and I do too now. And, I mean, that will rip your heart right out of your chest when you see the pictures and some of the stuff these little guys go through. And I was just there in front of the Blessed Sacrament. And I thought about that, and I said, Lord, why can't you just take cancer, wrap it around the devil's neck, and throw the thing back into hell where it belongs? Would you please do that for us? And Lord, I'm not asking for myself. I'm an old man. My days are, I'm going to die of something. That's one thing about it. We all have to die of something.
Yeah, we don't get out of here alive.
Yeah, none of us get out alive. Yeah, if it's cancer, it's cancer, so be it. If it's car wreck, it's car wreck, so be it. But for these young kids starting out, don't make them suffer through that. Just wrap it up in the devil's feet and throw it away. And he kind of touched me again, and he said, Jim, I have sent the cure to countless diseases, including cancer. I said, and every one of them's been aborted.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, yeah, I can process that. If we're talking about an abortion every 20 seconds, I bet it has been aborted. Yeah. I says, then what? He says, the image is what he called it. The image. He's speaking of the unborn innocence. He said, you have to put that everywhere. He said, there's more things that I'm going to send. Mm-hmm. And he said, they're going to happen. Those babies are going to be born. But their mother's going to have a change of heart because they view that artwork. They see the aborted babies in the hand of Jesus. Yeah. And they're going to have a change of heart. They're going to go against everything they've been counseled for. And they're going to have their babies. And a couple of things happened about that time. I got home. I'd forgot to take my lunch bucket with me, so I swung by the house to get lunch to go to the shop. And I just walked in the door, and the phone rang, and it was Dr. Wilton Bergeron from Scott, Louisiana. And Dr. Bergeron was instrumental in getting the very first Unborn Innocence in Louisiana 12 years ago. And just out of the blue, he calls. And I answered the phone. He says, Jim, it's Doc. I've been trying to get a hold of you for 3 or 4 months. I said, geez, Doc, I've been right here.
I ain't gone nowhere. Yeah.
Oh, he says, Juanita looked up your number, and I transposed the last 2 numbers of your phone. He said, I've been dialing 3-1 instead of 1-3. And I said, that'll get you. And I said, well, I'm doing good. Well, he said, I wanted to offer my condolences over Crystal's passing. He said, I just feel terrible. It's been this long. I hate to bring it up again. But he said, please know that we're very, I said, I do. I know that, Doc. I appreciate that. What else? Well, he said, my daughter was at Mass with Father Russo. Do you remember him? I said, yeah. I said, he's the one that took the very first Unborn Innocence years ago. Yep. Well, he says, he's in a new parish, and they're building a new church. And he asked, Jean is her name, kind of a French pronunciation of Jean, to ask me if the guy that built that thing, if he's still doing it, or if he's still alive, or he's still around, what is it? I'd like to have another one for this new church.
Wow. And
so he immediately called. And this is on the heels, not 60 minutes after visit with the Lord in front of the Blessed Sacrament, saying, get this out. This is what's going to happen. And so that kind of whipped things up and got the water and the froth and trying to get things going. I hung up the phone from him, called Mary Catherine, says, Mary Catherine, I need 12 corpuses to go on these crosses. I said, really? Have you got some interest? I said, no, but I'm going to have. I'm going to get these things built. Yeah. And then I hung up from her. She said, I'll get them for you in a couple of weeks. I said, that'll be fine. And then I hung up from them, and I had an order in for a cabinet job I was working on. I just called the salesman back up, and I said, you got room on that truck? Yeah. I said, well, I need about 100 foot of black walnut and 75 foot of maple. I'll get started on making some more of these crosses. And it just haven't looked back. We've just been going on strong since.
Those are holy moments, Some people call them coincidences, but I don't.
No. God's
no, this is direction from God. This is direction from Him. So I'm intending to do this, and I don't know where the lady's going to be that sees this image that changes her heart. Yeah. I mean, maybe she is going to be in Youngsville, Louisiana. Maybe she's going to be in Penrose, Colorado. Maybe she's going to be in Winslow, Arizona. I don't know where she's going to be. I just know I got to get these things out.
She could be in San Angelo, Texas.
She could be. She could be. She might be watching this show. It's hard to say.
God willing.
It is hard to say since our moms are the only one that watch.
Yeah.
That's okay.
You sound like Waylon Jennings. Why is the only one showing my hands and not my face on TV?
Yeah, Mom always said I had a face for radio.
Yeah.
She hates that joke. Yeah.
Well, Jim, I think we'd be more than honored to share the message, and and share the artwork and,
Absolutely.
and share your story.
Where can our viewers get more information on the Holy Innocents?
The website is old and it's being revamped, but it's still up. It's unborninnocence.org.
Okay.
And my phone number's there, contact information's there. If you choose to email me, I would ask that you please email jryankovich@gmail.com.
Okay.
Because the Unborn Innocence email, I cannot get it on my phone.
Okay.
And when I'm traveling a lot of I carry a laptop with me, but I don't check it very often. So if we want this to happen sooner than later, it's best they can reach me on my
Well, you're blessed that you even mess with computers. My dad thinks they're made by the devil, so he doesn't. There's a reason why that Apple is missing a byte. But
But when we got the opportunity to interview you and Janelle reached out and something just said, say yes right away.
Good.
So
thank you.
I'm glad that we were able to do this and make our schedules meet up. You went from Louisiana to Midland, and now here you are in San Angelo.
Yep.
And you're headed to Colorado.
I'm heading back home here.
Did a little zigzag there, but that's all right.
A little zigzag. Well,
not too bad.
I'm trying to make contacts as I go, and every place I stop for Mass, I try to visit with somebody at the church, maybe somebody from the Knights of Columbus if they're there or whatever. Yeah. And just start another campaign, my brother Knights have helped me before, and that's how this will come around again. That's a huge network.
You're talking to two Knights right now, you probably crossed one of our billboards, not to make a plug.
Yes. Jesus, I trust you. You absolutely.
Yes, sir.
And have two of them. That's been awesome.
Excellent. Yes, sir. And so we often put most oftentimes we have a
KC logo,
on it.
I saw that.
We're well supported by the KCs.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Jim, it's been an honor.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure to be with you guys.
Fun.
Yes, sir.
The honor's been all mine. I really appreciate you doing that.
Thank you greatly. We appreciate it.
God bless you.
Joe, you want to wrap us up?
Thanks a lot. In the meantime,
be bold.
Be real.
Be Catholic.
God bless.
Thank you.